The GeForce 700 series is a family of graphics processing units developed by Nvidia, used in desktop and laptop PCs. It is mainly based on a refresh of the Kepler microarchitecture used in the previous GeForce 600 series, but also includes cards based on the previous Fermi and later Maxwell architectures. A number of GeForce 700 series chips were released for mobile devices in April 2013. GeForce 700 series cards were first released in May 2013, starting with the release of the GeForce GTX Titan on February 19, 2013, and the GeForce GTX 780 on May 23, 2013. Overview: GK-110 has been designed and is being marketed with compute performance in mind. It contains 7.1 billion transistors. This model also attempts to maximize energy efficiency through the execution of as many tasks as possible in parallel according to the capabilities of its streaming processors. With GK-110, increases in memory space and bandwidth for both the register file and the L2 cache over previous models are seen. At the SMX level, GK-110's register file space has increased to 256 kilobytes composed of 65K 32-bit registers, as compared to Fermi's 33K 32-bit registers totaling 128 kilobytes. As for the L2 cache, GK-110 L2 cache space increased by up to 1.5 megabytes, 2x as big as GF-110. Both the L2 cache and register file bandwidth have also doubled. Performance in register-starved scenarios is also improved as there are more registers available to each thread. This goes in hand with an increase of total number of registers each thread can address, moving from 63 registers per thread to 255 registers per thread with GK-110. With GK-110, Nvidia also reworked the GPU texture cache to be used for compute. With 48 kilobytes in size, in compute the texture cache becomes a read-only cache, specializing in unaligned memory access workloads. Furthermore, error detection capabilities have been added to make it safer for use with workloads that rely on ECC. This series will support DirectX 12. Architecture: the GeForce 700 series contains features from both GK-104 and GK-110. Kepler-based members of the 700 series add the following standard features to the GeForce family. Derived from GK-104, PCI Express 3.0 interface, DisplayPort 1.2, HDMI 1.4, a 4K x 2K video output, Pure Video VP5 hardware video acceleration, hardware H264 encoding acceleration block, support for up to 4 independent 2D displays, or 3 stereoscopic/3D displays, bindless textures, GPU boost, TXAA, manufactured by TSMC on a 28nm process, new features from GK-110, Compute Focus SMX improvement, CUDA Compute Capability 3.5, new shuffle instructions, dynamic parallelism, Hyper-Q, grid. Management Unit, Nvidia GPU Direct, Compute Focus SMX improvement, with GK-110, Nvidia opted to increase compute performance. The single biggest change from GK-104 is that rather than 8 dedicated FP64 CUDA cores, GK-110 has up to 64, giving it 8x the FP64 throughput of a GK-104 SMX. The SMX also sees an increase in space for register file. Register file space has increased to 256 kilobytes compared to Fermi. The texture cache are also improved. With a 48 kilobyte space, the texture cache can become a read-only cache for compute workloads. New shuffle instructions: at a low level, GK-110 sees additional instructions and operations to further improve performance. New shuffle instructions allow for threads within a warp to share data without going back to memory, making the process much quicker than the previous load-store method. Atomic operations are also overhauled, speeding up the execution speed of atomic operations and adding some FP64 operations that were previously only available for FP32 data. NVENC. Hyper-Q. Hyper-Q expands GK-110 hardware work queues from 1 to 32. the significance of this being that having a single work queue meant that Fermi could be underoccupied at times as there wasn't a unregistered trademark T enough work in that queue to fill every SM. By having 32 work queues, GK-110 can in many scenarios achieve higher utilization by being able to put different task streams on what would otherwise be an idle SMX. The simple nature of hyperqueue is further reinforced by the fact that ETA unregistered trademark S easily map to MPI, a common message passing interface frequently used in HPC. As legacy MPI-based algorithms that were originally designed for multi-CPU systems that became bottlenecked by false dependencies now have a solution. By increasing the number of MPI jobs, ETA unregistered trademark S possible to utilize hyperqueue on these algorithms to improve the efficiency all without changing the code itself. Microsoft DirectX support, Nvidia Kepler GPUs of the GeForce 700 series fully support DirectX 11.0. Nvidia will partially support the DX12 API on all the DX11 class GPUs it has shipped. These belong to the Fermi, Kepler and Maxwell architectural families. Dynamic parallelism ability is for kernels to be able to dispatch other kernels. With Fermi, only the CPU could dispatch a kernel, which incurs a certain amount of overhead by having to communicate back to the CPU. By giving kernels the ability to dispatch their own child kernels, GK-110 can both save time by not having to go back to the CPU, and in the process free up the CPU to work on other tasks. Products, GeForce 700 series, the GeForce 700 series for desktop architecture. Cheaper and lower performing products were expected to be released over time. Kepler supports 11.1 features with 11.0 feature level through the DirectX 11.1 API, however Nvidia did not enable 4 non-gaming features in hardware in Kepler. 1 shader process also texture mapping on its render output units, 2 pixel fill rate is calculated as the number of ROPs multiplied by the base core clock speed, 3 texture fill rate is calculated as the number of TMUs multiplied by the base core clock speed. 4 single precision performance is calculated as 2 times the number of shaders multiplied by the base core clock speed. 5 double precision performance of the GTX Titan and GTX Titan Black is either 1/3 or 1/24 of single precision performance depending on a user-selected configuration option in the driver that boosts single precision performance if double precision is set to 1/24 of single precision performance, while other Kepler chips double precision performance is fixed at 1/24 of single precision performance. GeForce 700 series Maxwell chips double precision performance is 1/32 of single precision performance. GeForce 700M series, some implementations may use different specifications. 1 unified shader texture mapping on its render output units, chipset table. See also, GeForce 400 series, GeForce 500 series, GeForce 600 series, GeForce 800 series, GeForce 900 series, Nvidia Quadro, Nvidia Tesla. References. External links.